Hello and welcome to News9 Mediaverse, and you are watching On Point with me. Today in this edition I am going to talk about Manipur. Two events in span of last 80 hours have disturbed the entire state once again. There was hope when Manipur High Court was giving directions that in areas where violence has not taken place, mobile internet connectivity should be restored. But over the last 4 days there have been series of disturbing incidents. A mob attacked a group of people travelling near Kangchup in Kangpokpi district. All 5 of them were abducted. One of them was later found critically injured. A search is on for others who are relatives of a soldier. On Sunday, 2 teens had gone missing in Imphal Valley. Police have recovered only their phones so far. An incident of firing has been reported from Imphal West as well. Now, what is happening in the state which went into a spiral of violence in May? I would say that the state was coming back to normalcy. I would say that things had improved a lot. There was unison of action between different forces. But then this sort of a inter-community fight shows that the peace is fragile, superficial in nature. Divisions are so deep that even a small relative area where some people can take action, the fringe group, a part of the community, they can in fact derail the entire effort. Now, before I go any forward, let me tell you that I'll be joined by Thangulal Haukep, Assistant Professor, Center for Study of Law and Governance, JNU, Group Captain Retired, B. Nandakumar Sharma. I'll also be joined by Professor Prasannajit Biswas from Northeast Hill University, Shillong. And later I'll be joined by Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, Defence and Geopolitical Expert. I am also joined by my input editor, Brijesh Pandey. But before that, the important thing, what are we talking about? Now, tension part of Kangpokpi and Imphal West district. That's one part. These are the recovered weapons. This is the work which the police is doing. 4 members of the Kukizo community have been abducted. Now, this business of abducting each other is something which is which police is trying to curb. All 4 are reportedly soldiers' relatives. Manipur is tense, and we are describing you what has happened in last 80 hours. So, the whole the part of the family got abducted and one person was able to save himself. Why this happened? Is it because of rumors? But the fact of the matter is, it's so fragile, it's so superficial. 9 injured in exchange of gunfire, which means that, the police, they tried to get into an area so that, they could ensure that it's free of the anti-social elements, but then firing happened. It means that weapons are still free floating. So the bottom line is that there are too many weapons out there, one. And the second thing is that, people, the communities are taking law in their own hand, and this is really not about state. So the children of one community goes missing, the mob tries to attack the members of the other community. Brijesh, let me just keep aside the state. I mean to say that there is no role of the state here. The people from community, both the community have organized themselves to do this action, which anyone would say is completely illegal.
Well, I think there's the role of the state, Karthikeya, for the simple reason that, once you have an absolute faith in the law and order machinery, then, you trust the police, then you trust the army and so on and so forth. But here, this is not the case. And, we may keep on using the term fragile peace, when we did a program, when it was 6 months of the violence which has happened. Then also I said that, the situation has not changed much. The only thing which has changed is earlier you would hear about, firing taking place every 3-4 days. Now the gap has widened, but the situation per se has not improved. And I mean, look at the incident where, where 5 people were abducted. There was a firing which took place between both sides. 2 civilians and, policemen were also injured. The fact is, it's free for all. It's just that now a lot of recalibration is being done, and also the attempt also which is being made by both sides to make sure that the situation doesn't spiral out of control. But barring that, I don't think the situation has improved much. Killing has stopped, yes. That's a big yes. But other than that, I mean, people still have gun, people still are planning, plotting, and they are acting as per the planning, plotting, and police is missing in action.
I am also joined by Thangulal Haukep. I am also joined by Mr. Sharma. Mr. Sharma, coming to you first, can you just take our viewers as to what has happened? A sort of a broad description of last 80 hours.
Bridges is very unfortunate. The violence has started again. Yesterday, 10 or 12 people have been injured. They were harvesting the rice crops, and the firing started from the hilltops. And it had happened in 4 different places of the Imphal West, and I think it's in Imphal West. And also today, also in the morning, since morning to around in the afternoon, at 4 places, the firing took place. And actually, yesterday the firing was from hilltop. Today, and it has the firing was from the foothills. And the poor villagers who are harvesting their crops, they have been warned to run away if you want to save your life. And the many have been injured. And yesterday, as you know, including 2 police commandos, they have been injured. And this is a very sad situation where the crops, the farmers are harvesting their crops. You would have heard many crops have been also been burned, and they have been threatened, and this violence has started. And I said earlier, about 1.5 months back, there is a reported that small SUV class of vehicles, 13 or 15 of them, or maybe about more than that, have arrived with full arms and ammunition. And I also mentioned in your program that they will come into play in the future time. That actually is happening. And also there has been rumors or informations floating around among the Meitei communities that the other community may attack in the November. So exactly it is happening. And the most surprising thing is there are presence of about 60,000 to 70,000 central forces and state forces about close to 40 to 45,000. Despite that, we are not able to control this violence. And the 6 months has already been passed, as you know it. And it's very sad. And the democracy in India, though it seems very successful in the rest of the part of the India, but in Manipur, democracy is absolutely failed and the law and order is absolutely in shambles. It is very sad for border communities, Kukis and Meiteis. We are living in the 21st century and we are saying that we are in democracy and we are facing this type of situation. It's very sad affair in our country, I would say this.
Mr. Haukip, what's the broader picture? People abducting each other, communities abducting each other, this, sorry to use the word, this business of abduction.
Tit for tat with such
this is tit for tat. I mean to say, there is no role of the state. The civil societies have organized themselves. Vengeance.
Yes, exactly.
Mr. Sharma, for Mr. Haukip, I'll come to you.
Okay. Let me start by saying that selective justice is injustice. Selective justice is a threat to justice. So any kind of justice that has to be given, it has to be fast, it has to be delivered. If you look into the kind of justice that has been delivered unequally in Manipur in the last 6 months, you would find that there is selective justice. For instance, the recent incidents of 2 teenagers being abducted or being untraceable within a year, within a day. The police were able to find the kidnappers or suspects from the neighboring Kangpokpi district. On the other hand, yesterday an incident happened where a group of 5 people, including 2 elderly women, who were abducted, who were on the way from Cherjanpur to Kangpokpi, were abducted on the way, and one of the elderly man, 65 years old, miraculously escaped, but he was being hurt, and I think he's confined to some kind of medical treatment. So looking back into the last 6 months, the clear case of David Thiel, who has been butchered, whose head has been cut from his main body. So look into all these cases. The perpetrators, the criminals who did that are very clear. There are evidence about the people who are involved in those cases. But where is the justice for those people? It's been 6 months, more than 5 months has been passed since that accident. Where is the police action? Where is the case of certain injustice that has been done to the Kuki Joe community that has not been addressed by the police?
Okay.
Absolutely, there is a kind of impunity of
You're talking about sense of injustice. Sorry, Mr. Haukip, I'm stopping you here. Prasanjit, my whole issue is, okay, I'll come back to you. Prasanjit, my whole issue here is that, the word which Mr. Sharma used, rumors. Rumors are a tool which societies deploy to refashion the truth, sociologically speaking. Rumor is a tool. Rumor is a narrative.
Yes.
है ना? Rumor is a pre-social media narrative. If I have to stand correct, rumor is a pre-social media narrative which is deployed by powerful people sometimes, or sometimes people who are not powerful, to create that narrative. Now, my question is very simple. What I have really understood, Prasanajit, is that the aggrieved two communities have decided to hit back at each other. There was a story of two children missing, correct? I am not saying that it's part of the Manipur, it's there in the tweets of the Manipur police, you know. Then you have this abduction taking place, and then you have the firing taking place. So my question is that it is so fragile that if the police moves away, two will not be able to stay put together, which means that the deployment of this police seems to be permanent for both war and peace. What can be more tragic than that?
No, it's a kind of a situational perspective that you are giving, but a situated perspective is needed, not just situational perspective. A situated perspective would be that there is an absence of political solution, and no one knows how politically the larger political system is responding to such a situation, that both the communities keep continuing victimizing each other, and the innocent, helpless, vulnerable ones from the communities are being targeted in a systematic manner. This shows an absence of political will on the part of the center, I would say. Because center has not corrected certain basic wrongs, and one of the basic wrong which was raised by the Kuki minority, is that a complete breakdown of the state police and law and order machinery. Now, law and order machinery is controlled from above. So if the control from above itself remains, somewhat shallow, somewhat not in a situation of controlling, then what happens is that the central government has to come down. It has to correct the picture. As far as Assam Rifles is concerned, they are manning the checkposts. And it is through these checkposts that the abductions have happened. When people were abducted from Lamka, they were passing through these checkposts, so Assam Rifles could not trace how they were taken away. Similar is the case of abduction of the two young Meitei children. You see, in spite of Manipur police pledging for securing the valley area, they are not able to secure them. So the security issue lies in establishing a good, healthy inter-community relationship with the help of the central government, because state government somewhere here is very much diluted, and they are not able to handle the situation either on the Meitei side or on the Kuki side. So therefore, you see, there is a breakdown, there is a gap between the ground reality and the reality at the top. How does one really situate politics there? And there is a continuous politicking about the past violence, a kind of a churning of the memory, a kind of an everyday narrative in terms of who fired on whom first and how things are to be avenged. So how do you change the narrative? The narrative change could have happened by bringing in a greater, larger neutrality in the functioning of the policing, by extending it to the social policing, extending it to the level of humanitarian work. All these works have not been done by the central government, and they have to take the accountability now.
That's a strong point. General Kulkarni, from what Professor Prasanajit said is perfect. You have to change the narrative. How do you change the narrative? People can have a different point of view on it. From a security perspective, how can this narrative be changed? Because if the forces aren't there, the violence takes place. Narrative, there's a loop which begins, and if forces are there, it is a symbol that there is instability.
Thank you very much. I've heard the panelists, and each one of them seem to feel that someone or the other has not probably done the job. It isn't like that. I would put it this way. Even as a person who's been in Manipur, been going in and around, I was there a little before May also over there, and then I realized that it is as simple as what it is. The ethnicity, the problems of distrust that has occurred has to come back again. It's after all, these communities have been living there together. And there are certain, now we will not go into the causes, whether there are drugs, whether there's weapons being smuggled in, and whether it's one wanting to stay on the hills, not wanting to allow the people staying in the plains wanting to come there. So it's not a question of Metis and cookies and Zo. It's a question of wanting to stay together. And therefore, it is very important. It's been 6 months, and I feel that in last 6 months, there is definitely something good that is happening. We mustn't be seeing it totally negative, that nothing has happened. The killings have definitely died down. Yes, the displaced personnel are large in number, will take time to settle down. This in-between aberrations which are taking place are bound to occur. Is to say that these things will not occur is not possible. They're bound to occur. Yet, where the need is, we have to be a little more conscious. There was a distrust with Assam Rifles of the particular community.
You are saying these are aberrations, General?
Suddenly dying down.
General, are these aberrations? General, are these aberrations or symptom of a larger malaise which has not been treated?
No. Yeah, now that's where it is. Now, if I say it aberration, it will be seen as ethnicity, where the cookies have one stand and the Metis have another. It isn't like that. They all have been living there. It's a question of just sitting down on the table and discussing things. There is nothing that cannot be discussed. There is nothing. Now, let's put it, I'm a neutral man. I've been there as a DIG there, working there and things of those kind. Whatever it be, what would I do to a situation like that? I would call the people around to me, ask them, yes, now it's a larger thing. Ethnicity, when I say ethnicity, in the sense, if the cookies per se seem to feel very, very particular that look, the hills, nobody is going to come. And here, the Metis seem to think, yes, nobody from the plains is going to come. That is not done. You cannot divide the state. It has to be shared by one and all, and slowly and steadily, until and unless the trust is developed. We're expecting the security forces to be imposing themselves, expecting the central forces to impose themselves is not what it is. It is the people there. Until and unless cookies and the Metis and the Zo decide that yes, it is our land, we are Manipuris first, and then we are cookies, and then we are Metis, and then we are Zo, then it's fine. But if you all seem to think, no, a larger part of my people are also sitting in Mizoram, a larger part of my people are also across in Myanmar, and that these are, no, it isn't like that. It is our country. We all have to progress, we all have to develop. The trust has to be developed. If there is no trust between communities, no amount of security forces can handle, because the security forces also, to a large extent, come from the same group. If a particular group in Assam Rifles belongs to a larger All India central group, and now a particular group does not want them, yet another wants them. So this kind of a thing. Plus, I feel, and now is the time, all the communities must sit and think and talk as Manipuris, not talk as cookies, Metis and Zo. That is the end of it. If you are all sitting and talking, I'm a Meti, I'm a cookie, I don't think we'll ever have a solution for such a thing.
It's a small word, T-R-U-S-T. But Mr. Sharma, Mr. Sharma, T-R-U-S-T, I think is the rarest material if it has to be found in Manipur. Rarest. Because there is no trust. There has been no level of dialogue that has taken place, I would say publicly. Maybe the government has done it and I am not in loop. Maybe other people are not in loop. But there is no dialogue which has happened. I mean, there was a dialogue which took place with MNF. Bridget, you wanted to come in?
No, I'm just saying that, there must be some private enterprise going on and reach out must be happening. But what use is of those private reach outs when it is not having any kind of impact whatsoever on the public life?
Mr. Sharma, to you.
Yes, there is some sort of efforts on to have a negotiation, not much in Manipur, but outside the state of Manipur, people are trying to have negotiations. However, so far we have not achieved any fruitful results, but efforts are on. At the same time, I would agree with Professor Prasenjit. It's a policy failure by the central government, but in a different perspective from my side. The policy of central government, like the central government having an agreement with the Cookie Arms Group, like suspension of operation, though I may be repeating again, please ask the nation through your channel in some other program, if the government of India through army wants to have an agreement of similar thing with the Lashkar-e-Taiba in Kashmir, will the people of India want it? Or will the people of India accept it? Or and In fact, after sometimes having such sort of agreements in Kashmir with Lashkar-e-Taiba or other sorts of things, similar situations will come up. So in my opinion, it's a strongly a policy failure from the central government side, and the suspension operations should be abrogated immediately. Though I may be repeating in your program, but this is the first step to bring solution. You cannot support a terrorist or militants or arms group by the government by paying some amounts and thinking that they will prevail the peace. This is absolutely nonsense in my opinion. This is what I have to say, apart from what Professor Prasenjit said.
Okay, I'll go to Mr. Hauke, but before that, there are a couple of details I want to share it with you. Let's play them out. Play them out here. Let's bring those graphics on the screen. You know, the abduction has taken place. The point I'm just trying to make is that, you know, before that on Sunday, 2 boys went missing, and now this abduction has taken place. So this is what I wanted to put on record. And all 4 abducted from a security checkpoint. And you know, the most important aspect is there are hundreds of nakas which have been deployed by Manipur police. So it's not as if, you know, Manipur is without any nakas, which are like the checkpoints. So for people to manipulate these checkpoints is something which
it makes the situation all the more scary.
All the more scary that, you know, you can get abducted. Yeah, you were saying something, Vijay?
No, I said that it makes the situation all the more scary that, you know, at a checkpoint, you know, members can be abducted. This means that, you know, the reinforcement of police presence and all is having no effect on the ground. The crowd can come and the crowd can abduct.
Mr. Hauke, Mr. Hauke, you know, this is the real issue now. The crowd, this generic crowd which has no name, you know, I recall a book I read by Paul Brass on the, you know, local simmering violence. Now I recall it, you know, there is nothing called spontaneous violence, Mr. Hauke, you know. It's organized, you know. Tensions are kept simmering till the actors get activated, you know. There's nothing called spontaneity there. It's all there, material, simmering, till someone decides that this should get activated, isn't it? Mr. Hauke.
You know, I will make a blunt reply to certain things. Take, for instance, we have been mentioning about the Meitei Lipun and Arambai Tengkol, which are the radical groups during these conflicts. If it continues to give a sympathetic treatment from the Manipur police, you know, a patronage from the state authorities, then how can this violence end? You know, you have to crack down any radical groups. And I'm, you know, I will have a different view to Mr. Sharma comparing Kuki insurgent groups to Lashkar-e-Taiba. Lashkar-e-Taiba is a Pakistan-based groups, which is a terror groups trying to destroy or trying to create violence in India. You know, they are crossing borders. But on the other hand, the Kuki groups are not a terrorist groups. They have, in the past, may have certain violence, but they are Indians who are demanding a constitutional rights under Article 3 of the Indian Constitution. You know, whatsoever is this, how can you equate, you know, Kuki insurgent groups with those terrorist groups who are based or who are supported by outside forces? So we should not compare, you know, this type. The only thing we can vouch is that any insurgent groups, whether from the valley base or from the hills, the Indian government should talk with them and try to have a peace deal with them as soon as possible. I am hopeful that one day, very soon, with the valley-based group also, some peace would be brokered and we could live peacefully as neighbors. That's what I want. Even in Nagaland, I have high hopes that soon there will be peace and all the aspirations of different sections of Nagas, the uneven development would be bridged in this state also. So let's not compare, you know, between outside forces and the Indian insurgent groups, which are, of course, present in different parts of the Northeast. For instance, I have had hope for the Bodo or the Karbi or the Masa groups to settle their disputes amicably with the Assam government as well as the government of India. We want peace and development, and that's all I can say for. And we have high hope for the central government to come to its own, you know, sense to do certain things which would restore the law and order in Manipur, because law and order is the key, you know, thing that we are facing. And if you give impunity to certain sections of the population, then I think law and order is a far cry. So this impunity that you give to certain people has to be taken
Okay.
back, and
Okay.
there's sensitization on every
Okay.
issue in terms of hate speech, in terms of different things that is happening on during the Manipur violence this year.
Okay, Professor Prasanajit, whose function is to create law and order at the state? Only police? I thought, I'll start asking questions irrespective of Assam police and Assam rifles and Manipur police, because, it's such a tiring polarity in which my conversation gets trapped. Whose function it is, who should be invested in peace?
As Dr.
People who are
Robert was
providing,
saying,
people who provide
Yeah.
bricks, or people who are living together, sharing the same wall?
I mean, sharing is the ideal which needs to be pursued in a constitutionally ruled state. But why the process of sharing has broken down in Manipur? The political demands of autonomy, which I don't think should be brushed aside, and the demand for keeping the state together have to be taken together. It's not one over the other. Autonomy and the integrity of the state of Manipur, both are co-terminus, co-eval, and they go together. Now, this complicated political solution had to be worked out in last 6 months. Now, there is no political proposal coming from any corner. So, therefore, security mechanism is subservient to the political establishment. And because political establishment is not able to do anything, the constitutional machinery has not been invoked. Let's say Article 3 needs to be invoked. Let's say question of autonomy has to
Professor,
be
can
dealt
you please
under.
explain Article 3?
Article 3 is about the boundary of a state, let's say. Now, on boundary of a state, there is a debate. The debate needs to be settled, and there are claims about homelands. So these claims need to be settled. There should be a way of settling these claims instead of brushing them aside. Now, we should have this mechanism at the national level. To really look into these claims, we should be in a position as a nation to satisfy various groups. Now we are just trying to provide security, trying to provide humanitarian aid. We are not able to create a politically congenial atmosphere. Even the assembly cannot sit together. That is the situation. Now one has to deal it at a political level. How much we have dealt it at the political level? Because we haven't dealt it at the political level, so at the ground level, there is a lot of security breach and a breach of trust that Admiral Kulkarni was talking about. So therefore, to bring back trust into picture, we need to revive the constitutional machinery. Constitutional machinery, not just in terms of law and order, but by taking it as a political problem. And once we consider as a political problem, then there are political solutions that are available. And these solutions are not cutthroat. These solutions are supposed to bring people together. And we should invoke those constitutional machinery. Article 244, there is 5th schedule. There are all kinds of provisions given in the Constitution. I have been arguing for peace based on Constitution.
Professor, if the argument becomes that this is a conspiracy hatched from outside and it has no internal logic, then the state becomes the victim and not the civil society. I don't want to name few people because we are having a very eclectic discussion. 14 or 15 days ago, very important people in Delhi and other states said that there's a conspiracy. So I was saying that if there's a conspiracy against a state, then the state is the victim. And the civil society goes out of the window because then there is no internal logic. There is a foreigner and everyone needs to fall in line. So there is also a counter narrative, Professor.
No. This counter narrative to find out an external enemy largely dilutes the problem that this conflict has emanated from. We have to look at the causes of the conflict. This asymmetrical distribution of number of MLAs between hills and the plains. This unequal distribution of funds between hills and the plains. The relative deprivation of the hills. Various communities are asking for homelands. The question about boundary, the counter narratives about various types of narratives, claims about the land and counter claims
I think
on
we are
that.
saying the same thing. We are saying the same thing.
No, we are not saying the same thing. These narratives are internal to the life of the community. Communities grow through these narratives, and state has to adjust itself, bring itself down, lower itself to this narrative, and come to the level in which it can bring actors together and engage them in a dialogue. That kind of a serious dialogic engagement is completely missing. Because it is missing and the level of violence is going high and higher, so state feels now that it is a victim. Now this has emanated from the complicated process of failing to control, contain people into a kind of a meeting place. We are not able to contain them.
Okay, so
therefore we need to think more seriously at a multi-centered level, so that we are more versatile in our thinking instead of offering a narrow kind of a chicken-hearted solution.
Brijesh, tell me one thing, the sort of push which centre has taken for many other issues, this sort of a push has not emanated from Manipur. Any specific reason?
I think, Karthik, if you remember, the Home Minister...
The way they handled the Punjab crisis,
The Home Minister visited the state, it was a much publicized visit. We also talked about how, the government is and the special secretaries are meeting representatives from Kukizo community and also Meiteis, and, there's an effort by the government. But the way situation turned out, these much publicized meetings turn out to be big failures. And that is the reason why, you're not hearing anything from the government for a long time now. And, there's a piece, I agree with Lieutenant General when he says that, there's no killing, and that is a big uptick that I mentioned. But the fact of the matter still remains that, the situation is as fragile can be. And until and unless there's a political solution to the entire problem now, where there's a building of trust from both sides, or at least there's a political process which begins. I mean, the situation is going to be like this. And what is scary is that, somebody being abducted at a remote corner, or being waylaid and abducted, or something like that happens in all part of the country. But this particular incident happening right at the checkpoint, where there's a police presence, clearly shows the kind of impunity with which fringes are working from all sides. And they have absolutely no regard for, or fear rather, I would say, of any kind of action being taken by either police or some rifles. That makes it very, very worrisome. And we can wax eloquence about 500 things about A said this and B said this, but the fact of the matter still remains that there has been no credible effort made by either side, by the government also, to ensure that that the situation, there's at least some sort of reconciliation, or at least some sort of forward movement happening. Nothing of that sort has happened.
Then let me ask you a political question. You have stated, there is a word in Hindi called pratyaksh, which is evident. Why is that? There has to be a reason. No one does things in politics without a reason. Your political assessment, why has... I think
Karthike,
I know I've taken you to a very tough terrain, but I apologize.
The point is, Karthike, you have to understand one thing.
Because that's why you are here, Brijesh, with me,
The point is that, that there's always a situation when there is an impact on your political return, you start behaving in a completely different fashion. That is not the situation right here in Manipur. No government, the state or the central, stand to lose anything politically, and I think that is part of the problem. I won't say that is the entirety of the problem, but that is part of the problem as to why efforts are not being taken in the level or the way it should have been. It's not 2 days, it's not 20 days, it's not 1 month. It's been 6 months and counting. And the way incident happened, 5 days, we rejoice, oh, we don't have to do program on Manipur situation and turning normal, only to find that peace shattered. And there is no sincere effort coming out from any side which shows the light at the end of the tunnel.
General Kulkarni, I think Brijesh summed it up very well.
I would put it, everyone's got a point there. First, I would say the law and order is a state subject. Second, constitution and all things are facilitators. After all, it is meant for the people of India. Thirdly, that you cannot compare Lashkar-e-Taiba or anything of those insurgent groups with this. This is a totally different. We have to understand East is different. And supposing law and order, if I were to say remove everybody and bring in Tamil Nadu police to ensure law and order over there, to bring in, that's not the way it is. After all, law and order is a state subject, and facilitation is constitution which facilitates. Now let's say, for instance, certain laws which are there, whether it is scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, whether it is I will stay in the hills but I will also take plane, but the plain man will not take the hill. All these kind of discriminatory things which appear to a person are totally discriminatory. Now, over a period of time, certain community has got an advantage, a head start over education. The other community may have a slow start in education. A certain amount of community has a spillover yet into another state, or yet another community is only confined to Manipur itself and doesn't spill over. There are a lot of things. I think all of it, people have to sit. The Metis, the Kukis, the Zos, everybody have to sit. After all, as I said, we are to see ourselves as Manipuris. The moment we say, no, I'm a Meti, no, I'm a Kuki, I've seen so many conferences taking place. If a particular community comes, the other community will walk off. No, they have their own mindset. That's not the way, Karthik. We have to understand. Now, let's put, now we have Kuki gentlemen with us. Now, for instance, if I may not be, if I can allow to be settled in the hills, and I am also allowed to get into the plain. I also enjoy the scheduled caste status. And in the plains, people feel that, look, yeah, once upon a time, it was okay. But today, I should also be allowed to stay in the hill. Then you should also come and stay in the plain. Everybody, as a part of a state, everybody enjoys scheduled caste, scheduled tribe status, whether it is in education. And if this discrimination, for whatever the reason is the root cause of everything, everybody must be seen as one Manipuri, whoever lives over here, Manipuri, well, because of the pressure in Myanmar, which has occurred because of the kinds of things that are happening in Myanmar, the spillover is coming off because there is an amount of kind of junta that is there in Myanmar, which is pushing people this side. Plus, add to it, the drugs have started adding more fuel to the fire. So, but I still feel, Karthike, there is nothing that can't be done. All the people over there are fantastic people, very good people. Each of them understand and love each other. The best thing is to come and sit down together. As we say, we are all Manipuris. We don't want anything from anybody. Everything is same, level playing field for everybody as a human being, as a Manipuri. I think things will get sorted out. But as soon as I say, no, I am a scheduled tribe, you are a scheduled, but you will not get the scheduled caste status. Why should you get it? You will get all the education and all the jobs for yourself. That's not the way it is. No, I will only stay in hills. I will stay in plains also. But you people from plains are not going to come and sit with me in the hill. That is not possible. That's not done. I think us as good human beings settle and sit down and talk together. I think they are lovely people. They have been living together and they will continue to stay together. At least I, who having served over there, I see there is light at the end of the tunnel because people are really very good. Each one of them want to stay peacefully. They are not by nature the kind that is happening, unfortunately, now. Yeah, Karthikeyan.
Mr. Nandu Kumar, do you think it simply just boils down to resources of the state, or there is a deep emotional and ideological schism? Which is there? One can say it's like economic relativism, but I really don't want to get into it. One can say. But
I'll briefly explain. It's related to economic resources of the state. That's very true. Very well said, Karthikeyan. Because the land is very precious and the very limited amount of usable lands are available in Manipur, as you know it. And the Imphal Valley has only about 6% of land. And as per MLR Act 1960, the Meitei, Pangals, and the other communities other than scheduled tribes are not allowed to access the hilly areas and the resources. That is one aspect. And also this whole thing started with the Meitei's demand of a scheduled tribe and a court decision by Manipur High Court. But that has gone to back burner, and in spite of this, autonomous of the Kuki has come into forefront. This is one of the sad part. And also, I would like to clarify to our two of the panelists. They said the Kuki armed groups, they should not be treated as a terrorist. If you see UAPA 1967 section 15, all the activities what they are doing comes under terrorists or terror. That can be referred back. I repeat once again, section 15 of UAPA 1967. Under this act, the Manipur insurgency groups have been banned and their actions have been taken. However, the Kuki arms groups, they have been kept away from these sections, and even the general, I am sorry to say that he said they should not be treated like LET, and LET is also terrorist organization as per UAPA. And similarly, any arms group, not only the Kuki, the Meitei also, if anybody who has come under Section 15 of UFA, they must be declared as a terrorist and action must be taken. Why should have one community have a soft corner in the eyes of law? The equality of law under Article 14 of Indian Constitution must be applied to
Mr.
all
Sharma,
of us.
Mr.
throughout
Sharma,
of
you
India.
know, this is a different debate. This is a very different debate whether a community can be, can be declared. That's the job of the state. Secondly, please, Mr. Sharma, I allowed you to say it last time. I did not interrupt you. There is a difference between Lashkar-e-Toiba and the so-called Kuki or Chin militants. There is an accord which has happened between the government of India and them. There were an interlocutor involved, and I hold no brief. But if Lashkar-e-Toiba has acted against the interest of the state, all those the declarations and the accord and the Sioux Group Accords that have been signed are in place. Any security expert who has come to my panel, not one has said that the weapons have gone missing. Not one. So you can speak on anything, Chief. You can speak on anything. But to equate Lashkar-e-Toiba with something.
I will not further argue on this. Okay, please refer Section 15. I will not again.
No, my question was different.
As we have discussed.
You are basically saying that the fundamental problem is the Sioux Accord. I mean to say
yes,
the fight.
Exactly.
Okay, you are saying, Mr. Hawkip, do you think the fundamental problem is Sioux Accord?
Let me complete other points also. Kartikeya, please give me 30 more seconds. I have to say a few more.
30 more seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Mr. Prasenjit has said inequality opportunities given to Kuki and Meitei about MLS. All the ST, they have a reserve constituencies about 20 seats there. It has been reserved for ST. However, Meitei can contest only at 40 seats in Manipur. And all the Kukis or LSTs, including Nagas and Kuki, they can contest in all the 60 seats, leaving one for SC. So that is the disadvantage in the Meiteis, not to the Kukis or the scheduled tribes. So it is incorrect saying that unequal these things have been given to the Kuki tribes, because they can contest in for all 60 seats, whereas Meitei can contest at most 40. So it is incorrect information. And also, I would like to say that all this abduction, as Bridget said, is very unfortunate. It's happening in front of the police, and the firing are also happening in front of the security personnel. So many, 40, as I said, 60,000 personnel of central forces and 45,000 personnel of state police. And all this is happening. It's absolutely lawless, and it is, as Bridges and General Saab has correctly, it is the lack of political will by the central government as well as the state government. So they are accountable and they are responsible. If they want, they can finish this conflict within a week. This is what I have to say.
Okay, Mr. Hawkip, your response.
We should, while trying to understand Manipur, we should clearly, understand what is de jure and de facto that is happening in, the state. For instance, the law doesn't permit, a non-tribal to settle in the hills. However, there is a tweaking in the last few decades that, in the current violence, there are as many as 2,000 to 3,000 Meiteis who are, vacated from More and Churasanpur. How do they live and settle there? They have their own houses, properties out there in those this tribal area, so-called. So there is a tweaking, and then the practice is very different from what is being said as per the law. On the other hand, in terms of electoral politics, if you see the non-tribals are unable to contest in 19 assembly constituencies in the hill areas. However, in practice, for instance, if the tribals are also allowed to contest in the Imphal Valley, but there is a case where Mr. Letkosei Haukip from Ukhrul district was keen on testing in some of the constituencies where there are Kuki and other tribal groups are settling. And, after this expressing his interest to contest in those general constituencies, there was a kind of uproar, of contestation in social media. Then eventually he stopped, thinking of contesting in the Imphal general constituencies. So that is the de facto, that is happening in Manipur. So we should understand all these, realities in Manipur rather than looking into, 10% of the geographical area and 90% of the geographical area of the hills. Because if you look into the hill areas also, you would find that it's a mountainous area, and how many percentage of this geographical area has been declared for reserve forests, protected forests, wildlife sanctuaries. If you take away all those protected areas, then how many land is left for the tribals in the hill areas? That also we have to consider. So we have to look into the realities of the matter, rather than saying that 90-10 in terms of division of land, or in terms of electoral politics, how the tribals are also allowed to contest in the Imphal Valley areas. So we have to examine it carefully.
When we talk about the resources, when we talk about the people, it's about it's the perception of being equally given resources. The resources are being shared. But today the whole point of discussion was not the issues which are of historical nature. The issue which I really wanted to, I think it got a bit lost, a part of it got answered, was that somehow this whole theme of civil society actors, maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow, maybe next week, getting at each other is something which I find really bothering. I really don't want to get into those debates of mera paibis, or standing in front of the security personnel. But the fact that this mobilization which is taking place at level of the community, irrespective of the state, either tells me two things. One, the political actors are so invested in them that they cannot pull them back, or these social and cultural actors have become so independent of the political actors that the political actors have no legitimacy. Correct?
Well, absolutely. I think the concern has to come. There has to be a political solution to the situation. You cannot abdicate the situation which we are witnessing. 6 months we haven't seen a major political outreach from either sides. The MLAs, there has been no fruitful sitting of the assembly. There has been no worthwhile attempt which has been made, political attempt to reach out. At least no side has started. It has basically started further solidifying the differences, rather than any single step taken to cross over it. So that is the biggest problem.
My conclusion, my understanding at the end, I would say that my understanding is that the bigger problems at the levels of the countries, at the level of the states, they never resolved just at the level of administration. When apartheid was being dealt in South Africa, you had a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. For resolution, the political action and political agency and the political will comes first. And I think that's the most important part. The debate can be endless, whether it has to come from BJP, Congress, other civil society group, but it needs to come from one particular person or three people or a group of people with this attempt which continues to be there, that they want to resolve it. These are the tweets which I am running. And the reason why these tweets I am running is that this is what the Manipur police has been doing. And that is why they have been on my screen. The sort of action that has been taken, or things that has been recovered, or it's the documentation of the tweets of the Manipur police documenting the various events that has taken place. They have documented these efforts. So the bottom line is that I think this political approach needs to be on the top of the administrative approach. I think that's when the breakthrough is going to be.